Hello guys, so welcome back to my channel. Trust we're having a sweat time on this 100 days coding challenge. Today is day 15 and we'll be looking at improving on our web page. So this is what we have already. We have a beautiful web page here. We have our social icons at the top of our nav bar. We have our logo here. We have the Euro section with a button. And we have our about us section. We have a services section that has 3 cards. We have our explore more sessions, and then with 3 cards, and then we have our footer. Okay, so this is basically what we have thus far here in this our website. So we did our Git and GitHub in our last session. Sure you enjoyed it, and sure you've been able to connect your VS Code to GitHub, and you're able to push your code to your remote server, and you're able to pull also to your desktop, and you've also downloaded Git. Like I said, we are going to be coming back to that pretty soon. When we get to back end, we'll see how we can also use our Git, our terminal, and work with our VS Code. Okay, so that being said, if you've not subscribed, please kindly do so, subscribe, and then also leave a comment if there's anything you want us to help you with. If you're having a challenge with any of the lessons we've gone through already, you can just put your question in the comment section, and trust me, I'm going to do justice to reply to your question. Okay, so today what I plan that we do is that we begin to connect our pages, right? So such that we have different pages, so that when we tap on about, it should take us to the about page. We'll tap on services, it should take us to services page. We'll tap on contact, it should take us to contact. We'll tap on blog, it should take us to the blog page, such that we'll have about 5 web pages, not just having a single web page. Okay, that is what we're going to be doing in today's tutorial. And what I plan that we do is that we create our different pages, and then also create CSS pages for each of these pages, so that we are able to separate our styling. So when we get to VS Code, they're going to see what I mean by that. So that being said, let's just move right into our code editor. So here we have a basic code that we've written for our own page. So this is our HTML file, and this is our CSS file here. All right. So the next thing we will do is to try and create our HTML file for about us, then create for services, create for contact, and create for blog. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we come to excuse me. So here we come to our folder 100 days web page, and then click on this plus icon here to create a file. And here we're going to call this file about.html. All right, the next page we'll create will be services.html. So like I told us before, the most important thing is the extension. That .html or .css is important. You can use any name, but the extension is important, so that you are able to let their code editor know that, okay, you want to write a CSS code, or you want to write HTML code or PHP code, as the case may be. Okay, so let's also have this as contact. Excuse me, contact.html. And then let's create our last page, which is blog.html. Okay, so now we have our 5 pages created without content. So let's go ahead and see how we can put content here. Now, one of the things we want to have, if you come to our web page, you want everywhere you go on this website, we want to have this same header. So we want this header to move as you go along, and we also want the footer to move as you go along. Right? We don't want to write a footer in every web page, likewise the header. All right, but every other section we can rewrite that to fit into the style of the web page. So what we need to do is to just copy. We don't want to start writing the code and the CSS from the beginning. We can just copy the code, the HTML code for the header, and also copy the code for the footer. So let's see how we can do that. So now we have to go to our code editor, then go to HTML, index.html. And here, this is where our comment is very important, like I told us the other time. So here you can see that this is our navigation section. This is our Euro section. So what we need to copy is just to copy from our navigation section to where we have our doc type HTML, right? So we'll copy from here. So you see, it's very easy for you to know that, okay, this is for navigation because we have. So it's important to always have comments in your web page or your code when you are trying to code, so that you have these sections break down and you know that, okay, this is this section. So I'll copy this and then I'll go ahead and paste this here in our services page. All right, so the next thing I will do is to have a closing tag for the body, and then let me also have a closing tag for HTML. All right, so that is settled. So now let's go to our web page, and yeah, let's refresh and see we have services. So now if we click on services, it takes us to services, right? Let's say about us. We don't have about us, we don't have content here. So let's go ahead and do that for the other pages. Now, one thing I didn't show us is here, you see when we have this navigation bar, we use the name of each of this page to link to that page. So you see here we have about.html. So if we change this from about.html, we cannot navigate to our about us page. So here you need to make sure that this is correct with whatever you have here. So if you check, this is blog.html. You see that the link, the href link is blog.html. Same for the contact.html. The href link that links to that page under our navigation bar is contact.html. So let's go ahead and do the same for contact. So here I will just paste this and let me add the closing body tag and the closing HTML tag and save. And let's do the same for the blog. And here I will add the closing body tag, and then let me also add the closing HTML tag, okay? And the last one is about us, so let's paste this and then let's also close the body tag and the HTML tag. Okay, so that is done. And let's go back to our web page. So please always make sure you save with Ctrl S, save with Ctrl S, so that you can see your changes. Now let's go back to our web page, and here we're going to refresh our web page just like this. So here under our home page, we have our home page here. Under about us, under services, under contact, and under blog. Now just so we know the difference, let's go and have content, just something to show us that, hey, this is about us page, all right? Because right now we are not seeing any content, we're only seeing the head section. So let's have content here before we can add our footer. So let's go back to our code editor. Now just below our nav bar, here, let's have a comment here, and let's say Euro section. So this is supposed to be the Euro section of our battles, all right? So here, let's create a main tag. So the main tag is a block type, just like we have a div. Now here, let's just add an h2 element that will say about us, okay? So I will just copy this and I will paste this here in our contact page. So just below the nav bar, let's paste that. And here, let's change this from about us to contact us. That's simple. Okay, we save this. We'll do the same for blog. So here we change this to blog page and save. And let's do the same for about. So we paste this here and let's change the content to about us. Okay, I think this was services, not about us. Yes, this was services. So let's change this to services. So we can say our services. And then let's save this. Let's make sure that everything is saved with Ctrl S. Just make sure you save everything. And let's go back to our web page and refresh. Now, excuse me. In our web page here, in the blog page, you see we have blog page, contact, we have contact or services, we have our services about, we have about us, and then we have our own page. Beautiful. Now, let's go ahead and connect our different pages to the footer section so that we have this footer that runs through our web page, our website, okay, the entire website. We don't want to be creating a footer each time. So let's go ahead and also copy that so that since we have all this already, the header in each of these pages is also cool. We have the footer. So let's go back to our index.html and here we go to our footer section. So this is our footer. So we're going to copy our footer section here. Copy with Ctrl C and let's go to services. So below the hero section, we just put our footer there for now since we don't have any content. So if we're going to add any other content, then we'll have to shift the footer down and add other content there. All right, so we save with Ctrl S. Let's do the same for our contact page. Let's do the same for our blog page, and then let's do it for about us page. Ctrl V to paste, and then we save. Okay, so let's see what we have right now. Let's refresh our web page. So here we have our footer, we have our footer in each of these pages, right? So beautiful, we are progressing, right? So now we have our 5 web pages, we have the header, we have the footer for each of these web pages. But now, if you look at this code base, we have just one style sheet. So this one style sheet is what is controlling the entire website, which doesn't really make sense because by the time you start writing the whole of this website, you find out that your style sheets for one page alone will run into, in some web pages, to like 1,000, 1,500 lines of code. And you don't want to have that stress for the entire website. So meaning having 5 web HTML pages connected to just a single style sheet is going to be too much for that style sheet. So we are talking about over 7,000 to 8,000 lines of code in one style sheet, which doesn't make sense. It's going to make the work stressful for you if you're trying to look for something, you're trying to debug. And it's also going to stress you in trying to name your sections and your divs, especially if you don't want the styling to be the same. So your best bet is to create a style sheet for each of these pages such that you know that this is a style sheet that is dedicated for contact, this is dedicated for index, this is dedicated for blog, and it's easier for you to style it because you can give your div simpler names since you are only working with one style sheet to one HTML page. I hope that makes sense. All right. Now let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So the first thing we will do is to create our style sheet for these different HTML files. So here we go to the plus icon here, add a new file, and here we're going to start with about. So we'll say about, .css. So that is going to be for CSS. We say blog.css, so that is going to be for the blog. And then contact.css, that's going to be for contact. And the last one is services.css, so that's going to be for the services page. Okay, now if we now connect, now you know that what is connecting these guys, the HTML pages that we just created, to this style we are seeing here, all this styling, the colors and the arrangement, is because we have connected the index, the styles.css, which is for the index page, to these guys. So if we disconnect it, you see that we are not going to have the styles again. Our work is going to look like we don't have any CSS here. So let's do that in practical so that you will see. So first I will go to my about.html, and here I want to change the linkage I did here, from style.css, I want to change it to about.css. So here we're going to change it at the head section. We're going to change it to about.css, and I will save that. I'll come to my blog page. I will do the same. Go to my head section where I have my links. Here I'm going to change this from styles.css to blog.css, just like that. I will save that. I'll do the same for contact. I will come here where we have the head tag, and then I will change the styles.css, and I will change that to contact.css. Okay, and then lastly we'll do the same for services. We'll change here from style.css, we change that to services.css. Okay, great. So save that, go to your web page and refresh. Now when you refresh, you see that our website looks somewhat like this, right? From the beautiful website we had before, we have something looking like this. Now, not to worry, we don't need to write that CSS code all over again. Don't worry. Now, if we tap on the home page still looks very fresh, like a fresh guy that it is. And if we tap on about, look at the way about look at the way services look, contact and blog page look like. Okay, let's fix this and see. All right, please guys, pay attention. Let's try and fix this. How do we make sure that we have the same styling for the head, and then for the header and the footer across the entire web page, the entire website, sorry. How do we do that? First, let's go to our styles.css, which is the one that is linking to the index.html file. This here, we're going to copy the code for our head tag, that's the navigation section and the social icon section. We're going to copy that, and then the logo. So we have our comments here. So let's go through our comment and see where we will copy from. So this is where the hero section starts. So that means we're going to copy from here, from this line 82 all the way to the end, like that. And we copy this just like that. Okay, now let's go paste this across our entire website. So we'll start with services.css, and then we'll paste this and we'll save. We do the same for contact. We paste this and we save. We do the same for blog. We paste this and we save. We do the same for about. We paste and we save. Now let's go and refresh our website and see how it's going to look now. So here our home page is looking fresh. About is looking fresh. Now the only difference now is that you see that the head is fixed, but the footer section is not fixed because we don't have any CSS code that is working for the footer section here. Same for the services. The head is fixed, but the footer is not fixed. But we're going to fix that pretty soon. So you see that we don't need to write all the code again. All we need to do is to go to our CSS and just copy that styling that we've used for the header section. And let's also do the same for the footer section. Copy the styling and paste the styling, and we can then use that to do our work. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So here we'll go to our style.css, and here we'll go and look for the footer section. So let's see what we have. So with our comment, we should be able to see where our footer section is. So you see how long this style sheet is already looking. We've not done anything. We've not gone far. All right, in this web page, we already have 200 and something line of code for this style sheet. So imagine that we need to code the entire home page with this style sheet, code the entire services page with this same style sheet, and all the other pages with this same style sheet. You see that we're going to have a whole does the same style sheet, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So here we'll copy our footer section here. So we'll copy, and then we're going to paste it here. So let's just give a bit of space, because the footer section will always be the last section, such that if we want to write our other CSS code, we can write it in between this footer section and the navigation section. All right, so let's save this, and let's go to our contact.css and do the same. So let's leave some space, paste this, and save. Let's go to our blog.css. Let's do the same thing, paste and save. And let's go to about. We'll do the same thing. We'll paste this and save. All right, let's go to our web page and see how our web page is doing. So now you see that our footer section is fixed from about us to contact to services, and then to the home page. Our footer section is fixed, looking pretty, right? Looking beautiful already. So this is how you can create pages and then also link them together. And like I said, to link these pages such that anywhere you are, so if I'm in my services section, I can go to any of these pages. All that is done here at the S section, at the navigation bar. Let me show us again. So you have to include that here at the navigation bar. You have to include that here under the href. So the href is what links one page to the other. All right, so we do this for the index.html. We'll do this for the services. If we don't do this for one of the pages, for instance, if we remove this blog.html from the home page, Ctrl X, I'm going to cut this because I'll put it back and save. Now, if we go to our web page, refresh, if we tap on our home page, you see we have home page, but we cannot navigate from our home page to the blog page because we've removed it. You see that it's not visible because that we've removed it. But from our about us, we can still see the blog. From services, we can see our blog. From contact, we can see our blog. But once we get to the home page, our blog page has disappeared. Right? It has disappeared. Now, one more thing, we can have it this way. So let me paste that back. We can have it this way. And then here, I will just remove this the href. So let me cut that out. So what we have now is that we're going to have our blog page showing, but we cannot navigate from our home page to the blog page. But we're going to see that we have something called a blog page. So let's go and see. Now, if I refresh this under the home page, if we are here at the home page, you see that the blog page now is showing, but you cannot navigate to the blog page because the blog page does not have an href that is linking to it. So you see, if I tap on it, it doesn't change anything. But if I tap on contact, you see we move to contact. Tap on services, we move to services. Tap on about, move to. But if I am here at about us, I can actually move to the blog page, right? And that is because the about us is still linked to the blog page. Services is still linked to the blog page. Contact is still linked to the blog page, but the home is no longer linked to the blog page. So the href attribute is important for you to be able to link all your pages. So what that means is that you're going to have the same version of code, just the way it is here, across your entire page, such that you're able to navigate from one page to the other. So let's add this so that we're able to navigate. So now we can then navigate from our home page. So let's refresh. Can navigate here to our blog page. So these things are technical, but I don't expect you that as you are seeing it now, you get it at the same time. You can watch it all over and let it sink in. And if you've done this to this point, congratulations, you're progressing. Hopefully in our next section, I'm going to introduce you to Bootstrap so that you don't start writing too many CSS code. We're just going to include a Bootstrap CDN to our HTML files, and then from there we can work with it hand in hand with CSS to make our work easier. Bootstrap is a framework that already has some templates, pre-designed templates that you can just use to do your work, like buttons, like navbar. So we don't even need to write a complete navbar like this. But yeah, it's also good you have an idea of how these things are done. But if you are doing a job and you want to be very fast and you want to be your job to be very neat also, then you also need to use Bootstrap. So hopefully in our next session, I'm going to introduce us to Bootstrap. We'll work hand in hand with Bootstrap and CSS to complete this particular website. All right, guys, thank you for joining. And if you've not subscribed, kindly do so. And see you guys in our next session. Bye for now.